2022 has been nothing but short on superhero movies, so today I'm going to rank all 7 2022 comic book movies from the worst to the best. Hello everybody, my name is Jesse and welcome to Film Talks, the channel where I love to talk about all things movies and TV. The last comic book movie of 2022 has finally come out, so today I'm going to rank all 7 2022 comic book movies from the worst to the best. Kicking us off in last place is the DC League of Super Pets. I wanted to like this movie, and I actually have a little bit of a story to go along with this movie. I went to go see the movie in theaters with my parents, and it was, a normal day. It had been a couple of weeks since the movie came out, so the theater wasn't crowded. And about 15 minutes into the movie, the fire alarm went off, and everybody was evacuated out of the movie theater. We had to go across the street. We don't know exactly what happened, but alarms were going off, and everybody had to be evacuated. And it was bad enough to the point where we couldn't go back in the theater. The movie theater gave us all free tickets as kind of a thing to say, like, sorry, you didn't miss your movie anyway. I am so grateful that this is the movie we were not able to finish in theaters. I wanted to like it. I did not want to hate this movie. I love animated movies. I think the idea of pets getting superpowers and having to save the day instead of humans is an interesting concept. And I love all the stars in this movie. Dwayne Johnson, Kevin Hart, Kate McKinnon, I love them all. But this movie just did not work for me. The jokes weren't funny, the plot wasn't that good, and it just fell apart by the end of the movie. And it made the Justice League just feel useless in this movie, and I didn't like that. Like I said, this movie didn't work for me at all. I didn't enjoy it nearly as much as I thought I did. And we tried to, so we didn't go back to the theater to watch it. We watched it on HBO Max a couple weeks later, and we didn't even finish this movie. We were like 20 minutes away from the end, and we just said, this is terrible, let's turn it off. So it wasn't just me, my parents didn't enjoy it either. It just wasn't a good movie. I wanted to like it, but I didn't. In 6th place, I have Morbius. I went to go see this movie with my friend in the theater, and we actually had more fun laughing at the movie than we did watching the movie. When your movie gets delayed 6 times over the course of 2 years, that should be a red flag. And it's very fitting that this movie came out on April 1st of this year, because this movie feels like an April Fool's joke. Nothing works. The jokes aren't funny, the plot isn't good, and the movie is entirely forgettable. I remember almost nothing about this movie. And so I would probably rather watch it over DC League of Super Pets, just because it's fun to laugh at it, but it's not a great movie to actually put on for the purpose of watching. And this is my pick for the most disappointing movie of 2022. The trailers looked pretty solid, and I was excited for this movie for months, and it was a terrible letdown. In 5th place for me is Thor: Love and Thunder. I don't hate this movie as much as most people do. I actually have quite a bit of fun watching this movie, but I didn't like it as much as I wanted to, especially on a rewatch. The first time, I laughed at the jokes the first time. The jokes were funny the first time. The second time around, they weren't really that funny, especially the screaming goats. I think the jokes get a little bit too repetitive, and this movie actually gets a little bit boring for me at times. I don't get bored with MCU movies. Even Thor: The Dark World isn't a great movie, but I have some fun with it when I watch it. The score is pretty solid, and there's some good humor in it. But I watched this movie last night, and I actually found myself getting a little bored with it about halfway through. And I just think it's funny that Gore is trying to find eternity in this movie, because the movie feels like an eternity. It's only 2 hours long, but it feels way longer than that. Maybe that's just me, but on a rewatch last night, I did find myself getting a little bored, and I thought the movie felt much longer than it actually is. While I do have some negative things to say about it, I also do have quite a bit of fun with this movie. Like I said, I think Christian Bale does an amazing job as Gore. I think Gore is a great villain. That 20-minute sequence where they're in the Shadow Realm fighting Gore, and the only color is really the lightning bolt. I think it looks awesome, and I think that's a great fight scene. And I really like the end with Thor adopting Gore's daughter and becoming her dad. I think that's really nice. This movie does have some good things about it, but I do not like it as much as I wish I did. In fourth place, I have Black Adam. There's nothing special about this movie. This is exactly what I expected from this movie. It's just a big movie, a ton of action sequences with some big explosions and big action. And The Rock does a really great job in the role. I love Dwayne Johnson, so I was excited for this movie. And it's just a movie that you can put on in the background, and you don't really have to pay attention to it. It's not some complex story. You can just put it on and have fun watching it. Pierce Brosnan absolutely steals the show as Dr. Fate. He's easily my favorite character in the movie. And the movie's only 2 hours long, and it absolutely flies by. I don't even think it really feels like 2 hours. So it's a very quick, fun movie that you can just put on and have fun watching. In third place, I have Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I love this movie. I think it's a great MCU movie. Sam Raimi is back doing a comic book movie, and as someone that grew up watching the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, I was so excited to hear that he was back, and he was directing this movie, and I loved it. I thought it was great. This is essentially the MCU's first horror movie. It's got some of the most brutal and violent deaths that we've ever seen in an MCU movie. Particularly the Illuminati scene is one of my favorite scenes in that movie for sure. And Wanda is a terrifying villain in this movie. My only two issues with the movie is I think Wanda feels a little bit too much like a main character. I feel it feels more like Scarlet Witch in the Multiverse of Madness than Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And my second issue is just the title. I don't think there's enough Multiverse of Madness in the Multiverse of Madness. The really the only Multiverse Madness we get is a 20-second clip of Strange and America going through the different universes, but we really only spend time in 2 universes in this movie. So I think it could have been a lot bigger. I think there could have been a lot more multiverse travel in this movie, but I still enjoyed it. I still like it, and I enjoy it. In second place, I have Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I just think this is a really solid sequel to the first Black Panther. I don't like this movie as much as the first Black Panther. Maybe I do. I'll have to go back and rewatch the first Black Panther. But I do think this is a really good sequel to the first film. I think they did as best a job as they could with the hand they were dealt. They had the worst thing possible happen with Chadwick Boseman's death. The actor in the lead role dying. So I think what they did with what they were dealt is really nice. I think Namor is a fantastic villain, one of my favorite villains of Phase 4. He gets a really good full backstory in this movie. And I think Shuri does a really great job taking up the mantle of Black Panther in this movie. I would say one of my only issues of this movie is it's a little bit too long. It's 2 hours and 40 minutes. I think it could have easily been 15-20 minutes shorter. And maybe they didn't necessarily have to cut out entire things, but I think they could have shortened a few things. And I think this movie definitely could have been a little bit shorter and been just fine. But I still love it. And I think Riri Williams as Ironheart is a great side character. This movie made me more excited for her Disney Plus show coming out in a couple years. In first place, I have The Batman. This is my favorite Batman movie. Without a doubt, Robert Pattinson is my favorite Batman and Bruce Wayne. I love this version of the character. I love this version of Gotham. Paul Dano does a great job as the Riddler. He's an awesome villain. And I think Matt Reeves did a fantastic job directing this movie. It's got some really awesome cinematography. This was my most anticipated movie going into 2022, and it is my favorite movie of 2022 overall. So this is an amazing movie, and it is my favorite movie of 2022, so it comes in first place. It is my #1 comic book movie of 2022. That is my ranking of the 2022 comic book movies. What is your ranking? Let me know down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and subscribe to my channel so you never miss another one of my videos. And in the meantime, I'll see you in my next review.